Good morning, friends. It's so lovely to see your beautiful faces. It feels like it's been a really long time. Welcome to the Boise Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. I am the Reverend Sara LaWall. I use she, her pronouns. It is my great honor to serve this beloved community. We are a spiritually diverse, justice-seeking religious community proclaiming the power of love at the core of our living tradition. Love for ourselves, love of neighbor, and love for our planet. Whoever you are, wherever you are in your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. Whatever faiths you have known, if any, you are welcome here. Whomever you love, however you identify, you are welcome here. Everyone is welcome here. Today I'm joined by Sabin, who is serving as our celebrant, and our music director, Carrie Bastian, and Rachel Murphy is going to do some song leading for us this morning for our new hymn, Not in Our Hymnal. I want to take a moment to welcome our online community, those worshiping on Zoom. Let's turn around and give them a big wave. Hello, friends. Thank you for being with us this morning, reminding us that we worship together beyond the walls of our sanctuary. And a special welcome to our newcomers, those of you who are joining us for the first few times or the very first time. I met several of you on your way in this morning. We know it takes a lot of courage to check out a new community, and we're so glad that you have found us and joined us this morning. We invite you to introduce yourselves during our hospitality time after the service in the hospitality room, or directly in the chat if you're joining us on Zoom so that we can warmly welcome you. We invite you to fill out our newcomer forms, which are found in the entryway. We'll also drop a link in the chat so that we can keep you up to date with all that is happening here in our fellowship. A reminder that our Inquirers series for newcomers is continuing, and we'll meet across the courtyard in the South Wing. And this is a series of classes that's designed to introduce newcomers to Unitarian Universalism and to our fellowship. And all are welcome at any time. Even longtime members are welcome if you feel like it's time for a refresh. Each week, we begin our time together, grounding and centering ourselves by lighting our flaming chalice, the symbol of our free faith, a beacon of hope, love, and justice. We light our chalice in solidarity with thousands of other Unitarian Universalists lighting chalices today across the globe, reminding us that we are connected to a great community of faith and love. As we light the chalice here in the sanctuary, I invite those of you in our virtual community to light a chalice or a candle if you have one nearby, and feel free to share in the chat where it is you have lit your chalice this morning. I invite us all to rise, embody your spirit, and join together in singing our gathering hymn, number 347 in the gray hymnal, Gather the Spirit. 347. Thank you. That hymn is written by Unitarian musician Jim Scott.
We come from and live on land considered sacred by many indigenous peoples, known as Bannock, Shoshone, Paiute, and many other tribes that lived here sustainably for thousands of years, inhabiting a vast region including much of Idaho.
We recognize the long history of the land, long before colonization, and acknowledge the ancient tribes whose names have been lost in history.
With this acknowledgement, we wish to demonstrate our commitment to dismantling the legacies of settler colonialism. We honor Indigenous peoples' connection to the land and support their right to sovereignty.
In the challenges of these truths, may we move through the world bringing justice in every way that we can, listening to the truths spoken to us by Native American peoples, making space for them to re-inhabit this place, and giving them back the resources they need to heal their communities.
Our spiritual theme for this month of June is living love through the practice of freedom. A lot of feelings about that theme as I spent some additional time in Washington, D.C. after General Assembly this week at the Jefferson Memorial and the Library of Congress. It feels like a lot of tension is happening around what freedom actually means. Today's service, I'll be sharing some highlights of our annual Unitarian Universalist Association's annual General Assembly, and the beauty of thousands of UUs from around the globe coming together each year to connect, learn, worship, and practice our free faith. All the hymns we're singing today are all hymns we sang at some point during that week together, as are some of the readings and words you'll hear this morning. So as we enter into this time of worship, I invite us all to take a breath together. Fill your body with breath. Perhaps you've not been having deep breaths lately. Invite your breath to go deep and release all of that tension we've all been carrying around with us just for this moment. Knowing that our breath connects us to one another and to our planet. Our breath offers us the opportunity to tune in to our spiritual center, to listen deeply to our heart's own longing. Thou art the song of my heart in the morning. Thou art the dawn of truth in my soul. Thou art the dew of the roses adorning. Thou art the woven whole. Thine is the grace to be steadfast in danger. Thine is the peace that none can destroy. Thine is the face of the need-driven stranger. Thine are the wings of joy. Thou art the deep, to the deep in me calling. Thou art a lamp where my feet shall tread. Thy way is steep past the peril of falling. Thou art my daily bread. Thine be the praise of my spirit uplifted. Thou art the sea to each flowing stream. Thine be the days that are gathered and sifted. Thou art the deathless dream. In these times when it often feels like it is hard to see a future of peace and a future filled with love and a future filled with joy, We sing this hymn together as we sang it together during General Assembly to remind ourselves that it is out there. So let us rise in body or spirit and sing together hymn 95 in the gray hymnal, There is More Love Somewhere.
I read this and had a vision, and I hope you'll join me in it. So this is a call to worship by the Reverend Gretchen Haley, and it focuses around the word rise. So I invite you, every time I say rise, you call and respond, rise. I promise I'll go slow enough to leave spaces. This is a personal issue at home, so I've been working on it. Anyway, this is just amazing. The Reverend Gretchen Haley. Because the tides are rising, so must we rise. Rise. To the moment. Rise. Rise. To this day. Rise. Rise. To this life. This place in the web that is yours and ours. Rise. Rise. Because the earth remains our only home, and we fellow travelers, its only hope for healing, wholeness, salvation. Rise. Rise. Before the mystery, before the Big Bang that started it all, that this infinite universe still takes notice of us, still feels the in and out of our breath, still holds us, connects us. Rise.
Rise.
Or surrender with gratitude for this beauty, this chance to be a part of it all, to give back, to weave life, past, present, future, everywhere, always, as one. Come, let us worship together.
Thank you, Anne. That was beautiful. Friends, I have a time for all ages for us today. Now, it's really tight up here, so if you would just like to stay in your seats, you may, but there's a few extra chairs right here next to Teresa. So for the younger folks that are further away, if you want to come down and fill up these chairs, or if you want to sit on the floor, please feel welcome to do that. Or not. Amen or not, you know, that's the kind of community we are. This is a story. Welcome, my friend. Here you come. Here you come. Hello. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I have a story for you. This is a story that was written by Julie Regano, who serves as a director of religious education in Oklahoma. And it was written specifically for the Sunday morning worship service at General Assembly. But I adapted it just slightly for our community here in Idaho. You ready? Once upon a time. That's my favorite part. And you can do it with me. Let's do it together. Are you ready with the hand motions? Once upon a time. Yes, there you go. Do you feel different now? There was a young person named Robin who spent every morning reading or watching the news. How many of you are like Robin? No. Robin liked to stay informed. But lately, though, as we have all experienced, staying informed has been getting more difficult. Every day, there were news stories about despair and destruction. And so to help deal with the stressful news, Robin would play their flute, and it would help clear their mind. And usually, it worked. What do you like to do, friends down here, to clear your mind? Do you like to do anything? Do you play an instrument? Do you like to walk? You like to walk, sing, pet your puppies and kitties? Yeah. Well, that feels painful, banging your head on the wall, but I do understand the inclination sometimes. But one day, no matter how much Robin played their flute, it just was not working to clear their mind and alleviate the stress. Instead of the music chasing the bad thoughts, the stressful news was chasing away the music notes as Robin played them. And then Robin remembered what their grandmother always said. The harmony of nature has the greatest power. How many of you have heard something like that before or feel something like that in your own lives? Yeah. So Robin decided to go for a walk. And as they walked, they connected with the world around them, remembering that they are just one small part in this much larger web of existence. And they watched bluebirds fly across the sky and ladybugs walk on the blades of grass. And they watched the water flow through the creek over rocks and pebbles. What do you like to watch, friends, down here when you're in nature? What's your favorite part of nature? Streams. I love water too. Anyone else? What's your flowers? What's your part of nature, friends? Trees and birds. Can you make your favorite nature sounds with me? Oh, keep going. Feels like we're in nature already. So after a few breaths of appreciation, Robin felt better. They'd walked so far that they made it into the center of town. And as Robin walked through town, they saw so many different people. They saw Aisha, a local shop clerk, wearing her hijab and putting out fruits and vegetables in front of her store, and the colors of the fruits and vegetables matched the colors of her hijab, making a beautiful portrait that anyone would admire. And they also saw their friends Eric and Gil Wu being pulled by the hand by their rambunctious children yearning to get to the toy store. Has anyone ever been running to get to the toy store before? Yeah. And they also saw their friend Lynn across the street, and they waved, and Lynn rolled over in her wheelchair and gave Robin the biggest hug. Can you give yourself a squeeze, like you're getting a hug from the dear friend? That also helps us feel better when life gets stressful. Robin thought about how all of these different people on this one street each had their own experiences and cultures, and Robin felt blessed to be surrounded by such beautiful diversity. So Robin kept walking, and Robin heard music playing, and they followed the sound of beginner musicians trying to find the right notes. Carrie's very familiar with that, right? All the way to the local community center where they peeked in the window and they saw a music class and children playing for a while. Can you pick an instrument and pretend to play an instrument? You can play guitar, rock the saxophone, drums, violin, cello. So many instruments we can play. And then Robin noticed a bulletin board at the community center. It was covered with flyers advertising all kinds of opportunities to volunteer. There's not much I can do about the news of the world, Robin thought, but look at all the things I can do right here in my community. So Robin went over to the bulletin board and looked at all the flyers and saw that there was one looking for a volunteer music teacher. Perfect. Robin signed right up, because remember, Robin played the flute. And they felt warm feelings in their body that meant that they were doing something right. They felt the joy of connecting with their community and giving back what they could. And as Robin was leaving the community center, they noticed a crowd of people of all ages holding up signs and chanting in front of the Capitol steps. Have you ever been to our Capitol steps? Seen our Capitol? Have you ever been to our Capitol steps? Robin learned that there was a ballot initiative being launched that day. One that would restore reproductive freedom and choices and privacy when it came to making decisions about one's own body, especially when pregnant. And Robin felt so inspired by the energy of the crowd. They chanted along with the crowd, and they signed petitions, which you can do after the service today. And they helped collect signatures so this important measure could get on the ballot in November of 2026 and allow the people to decide. They also signed the mailing list to learn what they could do next, which you can do by scanning the QR code on the flyers out front. And they chanted along these wonderful chants. So repeat after me. Here's some chants we're going to do for this ballot initiative. You ready? I'm going to go first. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Abortion bans have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Abortion bans have got to go. Ho, ho. Hey, hey. Reproductive freedom must have its day. Ho, ho. Hey, hey, fast. Reproductive freedom must have its day. Yes, you did it. Good job. By the time Robin got home that day, they were exhausted, which I feel you, because by the time I got home yesterday, I was exhausted. But they also noticed something else. They noticed they felt a little lighter than before. They felt the weight of the world starting to lift off their shoulders. Instead of dwelling alone in the news of the day, they opened themselves up to the possibility of what the day could bring. And they connected with their community and nature and people. And they reflected on the world in a whole new way as they walked through town, allowing themselves to be changed by what they heard and saw and felt. Robin was so grateful they took their grandmother's advice to go outside, because they felt connected to their past, grounded in their present, and hopeful for the future. And so we tell this story as Unitarian Universalists because we are aware of the world we live in, and it's a hard world sometimes. And we're aware of the pain of our world, but we know this world can be more than pain when we hold our values close to our heart and when we let love be our guiding force in our lives. So, like Robin, we can be transformed by living out our values. So may we each feel connected today to our Unitarian Universalist faith, not just on Sundays, but every day. Thank you for joining me down front, friends. Thank you, friends, for listening. I'm going to invite us to sing our community blessing. The words are found on the cards stuffed inside your hymnals or seat back pockets. And my young friends, if you are ready to go to religious exploration with Travis, you can follow Travis out the doors across the courtyard. Let's sing together.
When we give, we say yes to the natural cycle of abundance in our lives. And we say yes to building beloved community within and beyond our walls. We commit ourselves to do work for justice and compassion for all people in our earth. And today we share those gifts with our plate partner, Women's and Children's Alliance, as an expression of that commitment and living out our faith in the world. I invite the ushers to come forward, and our offering will be gratefully received.
As our ushers bring our offering gifts forward, I invite us all to join together in the collective blessing of our offering. Those words are also found on the same card in the seat back pockets or inside your hymnal. We bless these gifts so freely given. May generosity always be our companion as we walk the holy path toward ever greater compassion and beauty. Thank you.
Our reading this morning is by Carlos Reyes of Portland, Oregon, found in Poets Against War. We are waiting for peace to break out. We are waiting for flowers to bloom. We are waiting for the moon to come from behind the black clouds of war. We are waiting for the light. We are waiting. And As we wait, we sing songs of celebration. We are waiting, and as we wait, we hold out our hands in love and friendship. White hands extended in friendship to black hands and brown and green hands of the earth. We are waiting, and while we wait, we applaud those who have gone before us, preaching peace. All the Martin Luther Kings, all the Gandhis. We are waiting for peace to break out, and as we wait, we dance. We dance with the cold east wind, with the creaking, singing branches of giant firs. We dance with the devils of dust and the angels of clouds. We are waiting. And as we wait, we are learning the language of burning roses and the sunflowers slowly turning towards the sun. We are waiting for peace to break out. And while we wait, we are learning to listen to cries for mercy and cries for help. Though we may not know the language, we are learning to listen for the arrival of doves. We are waiting for peace to break out. And while we wait, we are smiling at you, at all of you, at the you and the me in the mirror. We are waiting for peace to break out. We are waiting for buds to pop through its deep winter. We wait for peace as patiently as the drop of water on the lips at the mount of the fountain. We wait knowing the water of peace is cool and sweet, sure that the crystal drop will fall on the earth in spite of anyone's evil actions.
For our hymn for reflection, we're singing this beautiful hymn that we handed to you when you walked in, that we sang together during a general assembly multiple times. I sang it in multiple worship services because it really speaks beautifully to this moment. This hymn was written by Mark Miller, and it was written in honor of Mother Emanuel AME Church after their shooting. And because it's a new hymn, newish hymn for us, you've actually heard Rachel sing it once before, but Rachel's here to song lead for us. So you are invited to sing with Rachel. She's just gonna let us know how we do it. So let's rise and embody your spirit as we sing I Choose Love together.
In the
When the world around us is falling apart, there is no place I'd rather be than choosing love with my fellow Unitarian Universalists, which is a blessing every year when we get to gather together at our annual General Assembly. This year, as we gathered in Baltimore and online, we received much unwelcome news. Just as you all did back home, we received the unwelcome Supreme Court decision in the Skermeti case, effectively allowing states to institute and enforce bans on gender-affirming care for trans minors. And then later in the week, during our WARE lecture, when our president authorized military strikes on Iran. Both of which, as you might imagine, left many of us reeling. I'm sure many of you as well, full of anger and despair and pain and confusion. And we sang that song together multiple times in multiple worship services, and it felt like a small balm to our weary souls. But being at GA, as we call it, as all of this news unfolded, meant that we got to practice what we preach, living into our Unitarian Universalist values to meet this moment and create spaces like the one described in that beautiful reading we just heard, some of which were not even a part of the original GA programming. Spaces of community care, connection, and pastoral support. I was one of several ministers who volunteered as a chaplain for a workshop about creating trans belonging in congregations, which immediately followed an ad hoc gathering of legal analysis about the Skermeti case. We created spaces of celebration and singing, which is always one of the most delightful parts of GA. There are multiple worship services to choose from every day. In one of the workshops, we were introduced to our brand new virtual hymnal called Sing Out Love, which not only puts all the music of our hymnals online, but includes audio files, sheet music, lyric slides, and a whole bunch of new music not in our hymnals, music that many of us have been using in our churches for several years now. I'm really excited to dive into that resource and introduce all of us to some wonderful new music in the coming months. We created spaces to dance and cry and offer hugs, while also planning the next steps in our many dispersed and sometimes covert actions to take care of community. I attended a number of meetups in hotel rooms with other ministers and lay people and congregational leaders doing some of the very same kind of work we are doing, supporting immigrants, supporting our trans community, especially our youth who are seeking access to care, those who are supporting people seeking reproductive care and championing the work of reproductive justice. And I feel comforted by the fact that so many other congregations are doing similar justice work, living out their values in that way, and we can create meaningful relationships of support and information sharing, which, of course, as many of you know, all happens on Signal now for security purposes. I really am proud of all of you who have gotten very good at using Signal. All of these experiences serve as a reminder of the power of our faith tradition and our larger faith community, reminding us that we are not alone, that together we can build resilience and resistance while also offering the gift of sanctuary to ourselves, to each other, and to the wider world. It was a tough week, an emotional week. But to be with more than 3,000 other Unitarian Universalists is an experience like nothing else. I recommend it to you at least once. Each congregation is assigned a certain number of delegates based on our membership size. We also do the business of our association together, voting on resolutions and UUA board members and moderators and such. And I want to thank Roger and Kathy Sherman for being our in-person delegates and joining me in Baltimore. I hope they will share some of their own reflections in an upcoming worship service. The central theme of this year's General Assembly was Meet the Moment, which is part of a national UUA movement-wide framework helping us UUs analyze, discern, and take action in response to today's religious, cultural, generational, and political realities. And this Meet the Moment framework asks these 3 guiding questions, which I invite you to just reflect on for yourselves as you hear them. What is this moment we are in as Unitarian Universalists and in our wider world? What are the most urgent and important needs and opportunities of this moment? And how do our Unitarian Universalist values call us to respond in this moment? And these questions can be applied to all facets of congregational life and UU organizational work, from worship to faith development and religious education, to stewardship and sustainable giving, to justice and liberation, including specific topics like queer and trans communities in crisis and creating climate justice. As Unitarian Universalists, you've heard me reflect that we call ourselves a living tradition, which means that we do not subscribe to a singular fixed truth. We have always held fast to the need to allow our theology, our structures, our commitments, and our practices to evolve to meet whatever moment we happen to be in. And as we as humans and our world evolves over time with new information and new learning and new technologies and new vocabulary and understanding about the diversity of humanity, so too must our faith tradition evolve to incorporate those new ideas and practices into our work. The Reverend Ashley Horan, who serves as our UUA Vice President for Programs and Ministries, describes it like this. Across time, Unitarian Universalism has offered clarity and moral courage in direct opposition to the death machines of authoritarianism, violence, and fear. Our faith is life-saving, she reminds us, and through history, we have been powerful agents of liberation and moral imagination when we have aligned our energy and acted decisively together. At this moment that we find ourselves in, I hope we all feel that pull to show up grounded in our UU values with moral courage and clarity, because we know the stakes are so very high. And right now, we UUs are being called to that kind of shared, impactful work again, but we don't quite know how to do it yet. Reverend Horan goes on to remind us that our world has changed so drastically in recent years that the structures and programs that were successful in the past, like 10 years ago when I started my ministry with you, even just 5 years ago, or even 2 years ago, are not calibrated for this moment. Everything as we know it is different. How we interact with the world, the needs of our justice movements and families and children and youth, how we think about giving and stewardship and financial sustainability, everything is different and it continues to change. And so Reverend Ashley continues, yet again, Unitarian Universalism is facing a reckoning. We know our values are an antidote to fascism. We know this. We know our values are an antidote to extractive capitalism, to xenophobia, to anti-trans violence and climate devastation, and we have to evolve. We have to let go of systems and structures and programs that are no longer working for us. We have to deepen our understanding of what is working and innovate new solutions with courage and creativity. And I'm delighted that our Unitarian Universalist Association is a program leader and a thought partner in this work, because the cool thing is, this is work that this fellowship, all of you and our board, is already doing. These are the kinds of frameworks and guiding questions we have used to revise our bylaws, to create a discernment process leading up to the vote to sell the Chelan property, and then to think about and create a task force to help us think about financial and congregational sustainability. What will we do with those funds? How will we fund our future? Guided by a vision for ministry that acknowledges this shifting landscape. And led by some of our most active justice ministries, our racial justice, our refugee and immigrant justice ministry, our climate justice and queer justice and reproductive justice ministries. You have already begun to meet the moment, and I want to invite more of you to join the conversation as our UUA rolls out materials for us to engage in this work together. So look for that in the fall, some opportunities to continue the conversation. And to continue the conversation with Unitarian Universalists around the country. The UUA will be offering online cohorts with specific subtopics that anyone can join, and I'll share more information about how to join in all of that. One of the highlights of General Assembly, for me anyway, perhaps for some of you that have been there, is always the Sunday morning worship service. Because just imagine for a moment, a UU megachurch worship experience in a convention center with thousands in the congregation, 100-member choir. I'm not kidding, this year I think it was over 100 members. A full band, lights are important, led by some of the best in our association, a rock star team of ministers, musicians, song leaders, a stellar choir director who was given his own performance up there, and a sermon that knocked it out of the park. And it wasn't me, friends. I don't think I could do that. This year, I was so proud to hear the incredible sermon delivered by my Unitarian Universalist history and Christian scriptures professor, the Reverend Dr. Nicole Kirk. And I was just tempted to kind of just give her sermon to you today, with attribution, of course. But I think you really need to watch it for yourself, which you can on the UUA website. But I'm going to share some big excerpts with you, excerpts that I thought were very compelling. Reverend Dr. Kirk reminded us that we as a faith tradition, we have met the moment before. Baltimore was chosen as our GA city this year to honor and celebrate the 200th anniversary of the launch of the American Unitarian Association, because it was in Baltimore where a pivotal historic sermon outlined the tenets of Unitarianism, and it was first preached there. Because prior to the establishment of American Unitarianism, I'm going to call them founding clergy, were Congregationalist ministers who, in the words of Reverend Kirk, began to challenge the core Calvinist doctrines, including original sin, the nature of salvation, the interpretation of the Bible, and we should not be surprised, the Trinity. And many of their parishioners were embracing this emerging new liberal theology. These challenges and new ideas erupted into what we now call the Unitarian controversy. This was a kind of theological revolution at the time that grew quickly as more liberal-thinking clergy who held most of the professorships and the presidency of Harvard College, the divinity school, founded as a Unitarian college. The conservative wing of the Congregationalists, the ones who called themselves orthodox or right-thinking, responded forcefully. Reverend Kirk reminded us that they issued critical pamphlets, launched periodicals, and shunned their liberal colleagues. And they established their own theological school, Andover Newton. The Orthodox began calling the liberals Unitarian as an insult. An insult. All of their efforts to expose this liberal wing was an attempt to brand them as heretics. We cheered when Nicole said those words in her sermon. The intention of these efforts was to isolate the liberals. Instead, it consolidated their resistance. One of the prominent liberal ministers at the time, Reverend William Ellery Channing, was the leader of this new movement, preaching sermons and writing pamphlets addressing these conservative attacks and his new liberal tenets of this liberal Christianity. And in 1819, he preached a sermon for the ordination of a young minister. And usually ordinations are an opportunity for the preacher to reflect on the issues of the moment and our faith in the future. And that ordination was held at the newly formed First Independent Church of Baltimore. The sermon was titled Unitarian Christianity. The first time Channing is adopting Unitarian as the label for this theology. And it laid out the theological frameworks and tenets of this new understanding of liberal Christianity. And in his sermon, he not only embraced the label of Unitarianism, but interpreted it as the understanding of the unity of God. No Trinity, where Jesus is a prophet and a teacher, but not the divine Son of God. It's considered one of our pivotal founding Unitarian documents. Reverend Kirk described it as a theological declaration of independence. And Channing knew that his colleagues would need support, so he established the Berry Street Conference, which was an annual gathering of new liberal ministers to offer mutual support and reflection to one another, where they would discuss the issues and challenges facing the ministry of the day. And of course, as one did in those times, the way they did it was that one would write an essay, deliver it to one's colleagues, and then there would be some reflection. It is the longest running lecture series, contiguous lecture series. It's been going on for more than 200 years. And I am delighted and very nervous to share with you that I have been selected to be the Berry Street essayist for 2026. I just vacillate. Thank you, friends. It's a real deep honor to be able to represent and serve our community and what it's like to be and do ministry and be a congregation in a deeply red state. But it wasn't until 6 years later that this new organization finally emerged, led by the younger generation of liberal ministers eager to establish stronger connections. It's the younger generation that often leads us down these wonderful paths. They decided they couldn't wait for their elder colleagues to catch up and act, and took it upon themselves to design an organization to support Unitarianism in New England and beyond. And so in May of 1825, the American Unitarian Association was born with the purpose to promote this new tradition and its values. Reverend Kirk tells us they did not seek to hide Unitarianism. They sought to share and expand this practical and life-saving tradition. And the rest, as they say, is history, and would require at least a couple more sermons to share it all with you. What they created was a vision for a future built on the hope for what these new liberal religious ideals could mean for Christians, for the communities they served and supported, for the justice they saw as vital to their expression of faith, and for the nature of religion in their America, which, let us not forget, was built on the foundation of religious freedom and liberty. That is who we are. They are our ancestors. And it is up to us now to meet this moment, bringing their dreams with us, becoming the generation's hope, the next generation's hope for a better world filled with more love, more justice, more peace. May we make it so together. Amen. Friends, I want to invite you to join me again in just singing the first verse of There Is More Love Somewhere. There is more love somewhere. 95, 95. One of the ways that we live out our values of love and care and connection is by sharing ourselves with one another, holding one another in care through the many joys and sorrows and transitions, to grieve our losses so that we might help lift the burden for one another and receive the blessing of community. We begin this morning by sharing I have one sorrow to share with you this morning. The sorrow that Kathy Carmen's mother died this last week. After a long battle with family by her side, we hold Kathy and Lyndon and Kathy's family in our hearts and in our prayers. If you are holding someone in your heart this morning, I invite you to speak their name aloud into this community of love that we might hold them with you. May the arms of this community hold all our joys and sorrows. Those named and those that remain silent and close to our hearts. May we feel the grace in the room and be surrounded by the spirit of life and love, with a warmth to celebrate our joys and a gentleness to soothe our aching hearts. Breathe with me, friends. Breathe with this beloved community, with open hearts, maybe even breaking hearts. Breathe with this beloved community filled with loving kindness, filled with commitment to meet the moment. Listen to what is calling you in the silence. Spirit of life and love, holy mystery. As we wait for the peace that seems impossible, for the hope shrouded in despair, for that holy love that calls us as the noise of the world drowns it out, let us keep meeting the moment together in beloved community. Let us keep rising and resisting in big ways and small ways, for every way that we show up for love matters. As we keep building the future we know can be. Let us keep laughing and loving and dancing and singing, even through the tears. Let us hold on to what is good, to the sun and the stars and the loving hands of our beloveds. Let us remember the legacy we have inherited, the legacy of this free faith. Let us feel the breath of our ancestors calling to us. Keep going. Don't give up. Know you are held. Let us love fiercely, seeking justice, equity, liberty, world community, compassion, and peace for all the peoples and beings of this earth. In the name of all that is holy, we pray. Amen. I invite us to rise in body or spirit and sing together our closing hymn, number 1051 in your teal hymnal. We are, and again, we're welcoming Rachel up as our song leader for this hymn. That goes pretty fast.
And we are going to do all the repeats. So for those who see those repeat signs, help me lead. And for those who are like, where are we? Just listen and we'll bring you along.
Yes, friends, I invite you to place your hands over your heart for our closing blessing. Let us go forth and sing to the universe of who we are, a faith of freedom, a faith of justice, a faith of peace, a faith of love at the center, always. Blessed are we all. Go in peace.